The most common experience for someone meditating for the first time is the realization of how busy the mind is. It's not until we attempt to quieten the mind that we realize there is a continuous arising of thoughts, memories, sounds, physical sensations, and visions. This is what we call the monkey mind. Just like a monkey we may see in the zoo, our mind is continually jumping from one object to the next as each draws its attention. The success of a meditation session depends on many factors, including your state of mind before the meditation, levels of stress, physical tiredness. As a result, some sessions are good and some not so good. Don't expect too much, especially to begin with. The more practice, the better the sessions will be. But even experienced meditators have bad days. Be patient, be gentle on yourself. While meditation can be practiced almost anywhere, and you don't need much to practice, essentially a cushion or chair and a small table to rest a book on would be enough, it's helpful to dedicate a room or space at home for the purpose. Your meditation space should be comfortable, clean, tidy, and as quiet and isolated from distractions as best you can. If you wish to create a more elaborate environment with inspirational objects and pictures, they can be very helpful, but don't get too distracted from the point of the exercise, meditation. In Tibetan, the word for meditation has to do with familiarization. Through meditation, you can familiarize your mind with beneficial states and thoughts. Thoughts such as assisting others, compassion, treating others equally, and morality. You can also begin to realize that thoughts such as hatred, anger, greed, and jealousy are not only destructive to the people that you direct them to, but also to yourself. They can be a source of much suffering and unhappiness that you might be experiencing. Let's hear what His Holiness the Dalai Lama says about meditation.
Our mind focusing on one particular sort of point, that usually also is called meditation. The meditation help increase mental energy, so useful. But I think on the other hand, if you use the mental energy wrong direction, then not very sure whether positive or negative. Like human intelligence. Intelligence itself, wonderful. I think great thing, human intelligence. But sometimes human intelligence, you see, use wrong direction, then it creates a lot of problems.
For a beginner, regular and brief meditation sessions are more beneficial than occasional attempts at longer sessions. If we try to do too much too soon, there's the chance of becoming disheartened, feeling that meditation is just a painful, frustrating experience. The first step in the session is to check your posture. The main concern is to be comfortable, to avoid moving around or being distracted by discomfort, but not too relaxed that you fall asleep or experience dullness. Cross your legs if sitting on a cushion. Sitting on a chair is fine. With your palms facing upwards, place your right hand on top of your left, with the tips of your thumbs gently touching. Hands resting in your lap. Hold your back comfortably straight. Not so rigid that you experience discomfort or tension during the session. Relax your jaw and allow your tongue to rest behind your front top teeth. Tilt your head slightly forward. Your eyes may be closed, although this can increase the chance of falling asleep. If you have your eyes open, have them only slightly open, gazing downwards without focusing. Hold your shoulders level and keep your elbows slightly away from your body. Let's try a simple meditation. By placing your thought on the breath, it's possible to quieten or still the monkey mind and improve concentration. The aim is to become aware of the breath as it enters and leaves your body by concentrating on the rise and fall of the abdomen or the sensation of the breath passing through your lips or nostrils. With the exhalation of each breath, count 1, then 2, then 3, etc. Set yourself an achievable target of, say, 7 to begin with, and when sensations of quietness, stillness, and peace eventually occur, hold them as best you can and experience them as fully as possible. If you become distracted or lose that sensation, return to the breath. Now, you may be surprised how difficult this is to do without being distracted. Even a small number of breaths can sometimes be a challenge. It depends on your state of mind, your health, levels of stress, and tiredness. But let's try. Distractions come in many forms: sounds, visions, physical sensations, pains in the knees, pain in the back, and itches, happy memories, unhappy memories, memories of people and events that you've not thought about for ages. If you find you're distracted easily, don't get angry or frustrated. This is the nature of the monkey mind, and an awareness of this nature is actually a sign of progress. The best way to handle these distractions is to not indulge them or attempt to repel them. As they arise in the mind, they will also disappear of their own accord. Simply acknowledge them and return the thought to the breath and resume counting. As a patient mother will gently bring a curious crawling baby back onto the blanket, we should be the same with our mind when it wanders. Patiently and gently bring it back to the breath, understanding that wandering or distraction is part of its current nature. While effort is important, it's possible to try too hard to meditate. Meditation should be an enjoyable, inspiring experience. And ideally, you should be looking forward to the next meditation session and not feeling that it's a chore, finding reasons to avoid it. If you find yourself becoming frustrated at an apparent lack of success, it may be best to take a break. Go for a walk, get some fresh air, maybe try later in the day. Relive the day so far, from the moment you woke up to the present, and consider each action you carried out, not just the big, more significant actions, but all the smaller ones as well. Possibly the first action had to do with staying in bed for just 5 more minutes, or the desire to get to the kitchen for breakfast. Maybe there was a disturbing thought of things that had to be done at work, or a pleasant thought of having lunch with a friend. What other thoughts and actions occurred as the day progressed? Impatience, or even anger, when you had to wait in a queue at the bank. Satisfied when you drove into the last parking space before someone else. Downhearted when you realized you had to spend the day with someone you did not like. Satisfied when your boss praised you in front of others. If we're honest with ourselves, we'll see that our day is filled with thoughts and actions that are directed at avoiding suffering in its many forms and experiencing happiness. This is a motivation common to all, the wish to experience happiness and to avoid suffering. There is, of course, no problem with possessions, wealth, a comfortable lifestyle. The real problem is in our mind, with the underlying belief that these things will make us truly happy forever. Think again of a previous object of desire, a relationship, or even a situation. If at the time we knew what we know now, that they were impermanent, had no chance of living up to our expectations, were not going to last forever, would we have suffered so much? Would we have placed such importance on them? Would we have become so overwhelmed by the thought of having to have them or having to avoid them, otherwise our life would be ruined? Now finish the meditation by considering ways in which you may be able to understand the impermanent nature of phenomena in your life. Appreciating them in a more rational way can prevent the extremes of attachment and desire, or aversion and anger. Consider the peace and contentment that this would create in your mind. Most people in the West know about Tibetan Buddhism through the books and travels of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Known to his fellow countrymen as Kundun, or the Presence, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama is the spiritual and temporal leader of Tibetans. Following the death of the 13th Dalai Lama, the traditional procedure of observation and examination took place. In 1937, Tenzin Gyatso, a 2-year-old boy from Amdo, a region in northeastern Tibet, was recognized as his reincarnation. Tenzin Gyatso was educated in the usual religious subjects, culminating in his attainment of a degree of Geshe, an academic title equivalent to a doctorate in Western terms. As a teenager, His Holiness took over the full responsibilities of his office due to political pressures and the impending occupation of Tibet by China. Despite repeated attempts at reconciliation, His Holiness was forced to leave his homeland in 1959. Since then, the Indian government has provided sanctuary in the town of Dharamsala. Over 100,000 Tibetans have fled over the mountains to be near His Holiness, and the numbers increase daily. Many refugees also live in Nepal, Bhutan, and the West. Despite the hardships suffered by himself and his fellow Tibetans, His Holiness has consistently advocated a policy of non-violence. In 1989, His Holiness was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and continues to tour worldwide, teaching Buddhist philosophy and promoting peaceful resolution as the only way to end conflict. In meditation, it's possible to transform mere intellectual or academic knowledge into realizations, deep and profound understanding related to one's own experience. To attain these states, and then clean the mirror of the mind, thereby exposing the pure, clean mind, we need to also practice morality, to lead an ethical life. By doing so, we're more able to destroy the habits of greed, ignorance, and hatred. Wisdom is gained by hearing, learning, contemplating, and thinking, but most importantly, by meditation. Through meditation, we overcome the ignorance or incorrect perception of ourself and of all phenomena. We're now going to briefly meditate on the 10 non-virtuous actions, and they are as follows. Contemplate that all beings are just like us, in that they cherish their life above all else and wish to be happy, and that the causes for death in this world are many as it is, without us contributing to them. Consider times when you deliberately killed insects, fish, or animals, and recall your motivation at the time. Was there a feeling of anger, hatred, or greed? Was the action carried out thoughtlessly, without any concern for the suffering caused? Develop a sense of regret for causing suffering and creating the cause for future suffering for oneself. Resolve to avoid killing. Consider ways in which you may be able to protect and nurture life. Contemplate that possessions and money are not real sources of happiness, especially when obtained by stealing. Material objects are impermanent and will be of no use to us when we die. Now recall an incident when you may have stolen something of value and the possible motivations of greed or desire. Develop a sense of regret for causing inconvenience to someone else and creating the causes for your own future suffering. Resolve to avoid stealing when the opportunity presents itself again and to practice generosity towards others. Contemplate that a disciplined mind is the basis for developing a peaceful, content life, and if uncontrolled, our mind will continue to bring suffering and dissatisfaction. Recall an incident of sexual misconduct and consider the suffering caused as a result. Contemplate the motivation for the action. Develop a sense of regret for causing harm and suffering. Resolve to avoid similar actions in the future, and especially the circumstances that may lead to those actions. Reflect on ways in which you may contribute actively to loyalty in any relationship and cultivate trustworthiness. Contemplate the suffering that is caused by lying and the possibility of being considered untrustworthy by others as a result. Recall an incident where you deliberately acted to give someone the incorrect impression. What was the motivating factor? Develop a sense of regret regarding the inconvenience caused. Resolve to avoid lying, be truthful, and cultivate trust in the minds of people that you deal with. Contemplate that causes for animosity, disagreements, and hostility are many. Any action we carry out to contribute to this is a cause for more suffering. Now recall an incident when you contributed to disharmony between people. Develop a sense of regret for contributing to ill feelings between people. Resolve to avoid talk that creates divisions and to encourage tolerance, reconciliation, and harmony whenever possible. Contemplate the wish that all people have, that of hearing pleasant words, not harsh, angry, or critical words. Recall a time when you may have spoken harshly to someone. What was the motivation? Develop a sense of regret for hurting or causing distress to the other person. Resolve to avoid harsh words and to speak kindly, particularly when people may be vulnerable. Choose to praise, not criticize. Contemplate that engaging in meaningless talk contributes to an undisciplined mind, and negative states can arise more easily. Recall a time when you engaged in gossip. Develop a sense of regret for having a lack of control over your mind. Resolve to avoid gossip, to speak of meaningful and positive things that help bring happiness and benefit to you and others. Contemplate how the covetous mind brings dissatisfaction and discontent. Recall thoughts you may have had that fall into this category of covetousness or greed. Develop a sense of regret for such thoughts. Resolve to be generous towards others and to be content with what you have. Contemplate on the fact that all sentient beings wish to be happy and avoid suffering, just like you. A mind thinking of ill will towards others is never happy. Recall a time when you may have wished misfortune on others or experienced a sense of satisfaction when others experience suffering of some kind. Develop a sense of regret for such thoughts and the suffering they cause for you in the future. Resolve to be mindful of the fact that others are just like you. They also need love, compassion, and protection. Contemplate the suffering caused by a mind of self-cherishing. Consider the possible causes for experiences you're going through. Recall a time when you were overwhelmed by negative thoughts or emotions. Would it have been of benefit at that time to have some understanding as to why you were experiencing those thoughts? Resolve to listen, think, and meditate on ways of developing knowledge and wisdom. I hope that these meditations will help you in your daily life and assist you to become more reflective. Be kind to yourself, be patient. Just take a few moments each day to meditate. These are precious moments, moments that will contribute to your well-being.